Hello, good morning, students. So today we'll start a new unit, that is Unit 3 Data Structure. And in data structure, we have the first chapter, arrays. So let's see what we have. So the first we will learn about data structure. What is definitions of data structure? Okay. Then the various classifications of data structure, primitive and non-primitive data types, different methods of data structure, arrays, and a program that is related on air. So we shall see all these topics one by one in this video tutorial. Okay, so first is what is data structure. Now data structure is very important in C++ program. Okay, so based on this data structure, we will see how the data are stored, okay, or how the data are arranged and accessed uh, in the virtual computer memory. Okay, we have seen in arrays how the data are stored in the previous unit. We have seen how the data are stored in array. Okay, so we will get a more detailed uh, explanation in this data structure topic. So data structure is a process that shows how the data are stored logically. Since logically it cannot be seen, okay, so we will get an uh, idea about how the data are stored logically and organized in the computer memory, and also to access the data from the memory. Okay, so the best example is using the arrays. Okay, we have seen that in the arrays chapters. Okay, so the data values which are related to each other. So in terms of data structure, those data which have similar relationship, okay, they are collected together, okay, and by a single name they are collected together, right, and then they are organized to form a structure which is called a data structure. Okay, now next is the classification of data structure. So data structures, it can be classified into three types. So we shall see all those three types now. First one is linear and non-linear data structure. So a linear data structure, it stores data elements or items sequentially. So in an array, we call the variables as elements, right? Okay, so the elements are used to store the data. So in a linear data structure, the data is stored, okay, the data elements is stored sequentially. That means one after the other. Okay, now, the examples of linear data structures are arrays, linked lists, stacks, and queues, which are all in this unit. So, non-linear data structure, okay, the elements are not stored sequentially, so they are stored randomly. Okay, so examples of these non-linear data structures are graph and tree data structure arrangements. Okay, so in a tree and graph data structure, the arrangements, the data are not stored sequentially, but rather means like in a on a non-uniform arrangements. Okay, now homogeneous and non-homogeneous data structure. So in a homogeneous data structure, all the data elements that are used are of the same data type, which we have seen in an array, right? So an array is an example of a homogeneous data structure. You can say that in an array, the variables, similar variables of the same data types are collected together and referred by a single array name, right? So that is an example of a homogeneous data structure. So non-homogeneous data structure, there the data items are of different data types, but though they are of different data types, okay, they are all referred by a single name. So an example is structure. Okay, so a structure, a collection of variables of different data types. Okay, so that is called as a non-homogeneous data structure. So using an array or a structure, also you can store the data and arrange them sequentially, non-sequentially. Okay, now static and dynamic data structure. So in static data structure, okay, the memory size allocated and the associated memory location remains constant during the compilation time. Okay, So the memory size, that is allocated in the case of array, right? Okay, not all of the memory size it may be used. It depends on the data that is entered by the user, right? And the memory location, it remains constant. Okay, so the memory locations are also stored sequentially, right? So hence what happens is that the memory space creates memory wastage. Unused memory space creates unused memory wastage. Okay, so example is an array. Now in dynamic data structure, the memory size, it can shrink or expand as per the data that is input. Okay, so even if the size is given a larger size, okay, if the range of the is given a larger size, yet depending on the data that is entered, okay, if the memory size can shrink, also the memory location can change accordingly as per the needs. Okay, so the example is like a pointer. Now primitive and non-primitive data type. So primitive data types are simple or fundamental or built-in data types which are not composed of any other data types. Okay, you have examples like integer, float, character, double, which you have all seen in the beginning. Okay, under the topic data types, right? Non-primitive data types, it is also called as derived or user-defined data types and can be composed of other data types. So you have examples like array, structure, class, enumerated data types. So there are different methods of data structures. Okay, so different methods that is performed on the data structures are, okay, first one is traversal. So where processing of data element is done separately and individually. Okay. Second one is searching for the memory location of the data element. So if a data value is entered, okay, or that particular data will be searched in that particular memory location whether it is present or not. Okay. Then insertion. So you can add new data in the already existing element list using these data structures. So deletion, you can remove an element from the existing structures. Okay. Sorting, you can arrange the data elements, okay, in ascending or descending order, which we have seen that also in arrays. You can merge, okay, that means merging means you can combine two or more data lists and form it into a single list. Okay, so we shall see all of these topics one by one, okay, with along with programs. So the next topic we have is array. So array is a perfect example of a data structure. Okay, so what is an array? Array is a collection of homogeneous data elements or variables of the same data types referred to by a single name. Okay, so here is an example, that is int, so that is data type. Okay, num, okay, and within the square bracket we have the size as 5. And that array is assigned the values within the curly brackets, okay, 10, 20, 30, 15 and 40. So since the index or subscript here is 5, okay, so 5 data values are assigned to this particular array. Okay, so as you can see in this pictorial diagram, okay, so here num is the name of the array, which is a user defined data type. Okay, just like int is a predefined or fundamental data type, right? So here num is the array name, which is user defined data type. Here you can see that 0 1 2 3 4. So this is called as the array index or subscript. So based on this array index, okay, or subscript, okay, you so based on this subscript, okay, the data values can be entered into the array element. So if you have the subscript 5, that means 5 array elements can be created by this array. Okay, or you can say in normal form 5 variables can be declared, okay, and used in using this array name num. Okay, so an array index always starts with the number 0, okay, and the last digit number will be one less than the array index number that is used. So here the last digit is 4, which is one less than the number 5. Okay, because it starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it forms 5 numbers, or 5, the range of 5 size. Okay, so here in the array index 0, okay, 10 is entered in the array index 1, 20 is entered in the array index 2, 30 is entered and in the array index 3, okay, 15 is entered and in the array index 4, 40 is entered. Okay, so these 10, 20, 30, 15 and 40, they are the data values that are stored in the array element. So what is the array element? So the array element is when the values are assigned to the array, okay, the compiler automatically generates the array element, or you can say the variable, to store the value 10, 20, 30, 15, 40. Okay, so here num0 based on the array index, okay, it will be as the variable or the element will be created. Num0 will store the value 10, num1 will store the value 20, num2 will store the value 30, num3 will store the value 15, and num4, which is the last and fifth array element, it will store the value 40. Okay, so you have 5 array elements. Okay, so now based on that array, let's see a program, okay, where we can enter 5 integer values, okay, and then display them in the output. Okay, so here always the program starts with a header file. So you have the two header files, that is this hashtag include iostream.h. So you can see that this tells the preprocessor, okay, to extract the header file, that is iostream. So the file name is iostream, which is of .h extension. H stands for header file, right? So to search for this particular file from the include directory. Okay, so a header file is always enclosed within this angular bracket. Okay, you can also use double quotes, okay, instead of angular bracket, but the conventional use is the angular bracket. Okay, so similarly hashtag include conio.h, which stands for console input output and input output stream.h. Okay, so as usual, okay, the main function is responsible for the execution of the program and the termination of the program. So the compiler executes what is written within the main function body, that is indicated by the opening and closing curly braces. Okay, as you can see in this program. So the opening and closing curly braces represents this one and this one. Okay, it represents the body of the main function. Okay, so here a void, the return type of the main function is void, which means the main function does not return any value. Okay, so here the program structure is after the main function, okay, always the variable declaration, right? After that, okay, processing and then display the output. So here you are declaring, since you have to enter 5 integer values, okay, using arrays. So using arrays you are declaring the data type is int, since the program tells us to enter 5 integer values, so we are using the data type as int. Okay, so here the array name is array, okay, and the index is 5. So as you can see in the single line command, okay, declaring array of 5 integer size. So this is a single line command. Okay, now here int I, okay, so here you are declaring another variable I, which is the counter variable to be used in the for loop, since in the for loop we use the counter variable, right, for the initialization, test condition and iteration. So next is cout. Cout is your standard output stream. Okay, we use the overload operator. Okay, so to display on the monitor screen the string values, enter the values. Okay, anything written within the double quotes, okay, the compiler will simply print it as it is. /n is the new line, that is an escape sequence character. Okay, so that will move the cursor to the next line. Okay, So after you say enter the value, okay, the next line to be printed will be the next statement to be printed will be on the next line. Okay, and keep in mind that the every line of statement is ended by a semicolon. Okay, so the here also it ends with a semicolon. Okay, so next is your for loop. So in for loop here you can see that the I, it starts initialized with 0. So here I equal to 0, so initialization is done only once. So here initialization starts with 0. Now why it starts with 0? Because the array index starts with 0, right? And based on that, the test condition I is less than equal to 4, right? So here 4. Why? Because since I starts with 0, so when the test condition starts from 0 is less than equal to 4, 1 is less than equals to 4, 2 is less than equals to 4, okay, 4 is less than equals to 4, okay, and then so by that time, okay, the loop will continue 5 times. Okay, so based on that, it's written I is less than equal to 4. When if we make it I is less than 4, okay, the loop will continue only 4 times. Okay, so that's why here it is written I is less than equals to 4. Next you have is the iteration, that is here I plus plus, which means I equals to I plus 1. So the counter variable is incremented by 1 every time the loop begins again. Okay, so here uh, always in a for loop, the first thing that happens is initialization, then test the condition, then body of the for loop, and then the increment or decrement. Okay, so in the body of the for loop you have cin, which is your standard input stream, along with the overload operator. Okay, so here uh, you are you are entering the values. So since you have to enter it 5 times, enter the integer value 5 times, that's why the C input stream is within the for loop. Okay, is entered within the for loop. So here the array will store the values. Okay, so array I means, okay, array I means I equal to 0, right? So it will be array 0. So the first array element gets created. Okay, so the compiler automatically creates the array element. User does not need to create the variables, okay, manually. So when you use an array, the compiler will create the array elements or the variables to store the value. So here array I means array 0. Okay, so here array 0 will store the first value that you enter from the keyboard. Okay, and then after that, okay, the next statement will be cout /n, so it will move on to the next line. Now again after that, okay, this is within the for loop. These two statements, compound statements, are within the for loop. Next will be I will get incremented by 1, so I will become 1. Okay, then it will come to test condition. 1 is less than equal to 4, which is true. Okay, so the test condition is a boolean expression which evaluates to only true or false. Okay, so since it is true, if it is true, the body of this for loop, these two compound statements, will be executed again. So again cin array, now I becomes 1, right? So now a new variable is generated. So in array 1 a new value will be stored. Okay, again the cout /n will statement will execute. Okay, then after that I plus plus will again increment, so it will become 2. So 2 is less than 4, which is true. Okay, then cin will again store the value in array 2. Another new value will be entered. So here what happens is that sequentially the array element gets created, okay, and sequentially the data is entered one after the other. Okay, and then the memory location is also declared sequentially. So here this process will continue till, okay, I becomes 5. So when I becomes 5, okay, that will be 5 is less than equals to 4, which is false. So when it is false, okay, it will not execute this compound statement. It will come out of this loop, okay, and it will execute the next statement, that is the inputted values are, okay, /n. So the output will be produced on the next line. So again, since we have entered 5 values, we have to display 5 values, and the C output stream can display only one value at a time, since it is stored in the array, right? So for that we need the for loop. So using the for loop, all the five data that are stored in the five array elements will be displayed one at a time. So in the same way, okay, I equal to 0, I is less than, that is 0 is less than 4, okay. So one by one the cout will display array 0. What is stored in array 0? That value will be displayed /n, the next line, okay. So that way you get the output in this format, okay. Enter the value, okay. So 10, in the next line it will be 20, next line 30, next line 40, next line 50, okay. Similarly, the inputted values will be displayed, okay, vertically. 10, next line 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on, okay. So this is how you use an array, okay, to as a data structure, okay. So students, what you do is that you run a you do a dry run method on this, okay, and then you do a dry run method on this, okay, and then show the table, okay, and then what you can do is that you can show me the dry run method, okay, on your classroom, okay, on your Google Classroom, and then write it down on a paper, or like you can submit it to me, okay, and then show it to me, and then I'll check out whether you have understood this program or not, okay. So that will be all for today. In the next class we'll discuss the different topics that are still available.